Well, Tesla could get a bump tomorrow morning based on the news that's breaking pretty much everywhere. At least Bloomberg is reporting it. I haven't seen it widely reported elsewhere, but I do know it's been in a couple of other places. And it's certainly all the talk on X. So let's get into it. Sawyer Merritt it says breaking members of the president-elect Donald Trump's transition team have told advisors that they plan to make a federal framework for fully self-driving vehicles one of the transportation department's priorities after they take office, easing U.S. rules for self-driving cars. Now, there's a couple of different pieces to this. Number one is the advisors plan to federal framework, but part of it is they're saying easing U.S. rules for self-driving cars. Well, there are no existing rules for self-driving cars exactly, except for this rule we've heard about where you can only have 2,500 vehicles out there that are self-driving. Anyway, as you well know, there's all kinds of potential state rules in California and maybe other states. There's some other states that have maybe no rules but might impose rules. And then, the transportation department could have just done this on their own. The way better deal, what I've been recommending for at least a few weeks now, is that there needs to be a rule at the federal level, maybe even a congressional rule at the federal level. This is why we have a federal government. I'm a rock-ribbed conservative, but I do believe that there are times when the federal government should be doing something where it is crossing state lines and where you don't want to have one state saying this and another state saying that. And vehicles in particular are crossing those state lines. And all of a sudden, what's legal on this side of the line is illegal on that side of the line. So I think this is a smart way to do it. It should be clear that this rule would not be a priority item if it wasn't for Elon Musk's efforts with regard to helping Trump and helping Republicans over the last couple of months. Maybe it would have been done anyway over time. Maybe there would have been a lot of lobbying by Trump anyway. But you clearly can see here. Here's an example of where that work that that many people complained about is actually having an effect. And AJ says it this way. He says, every Republican knows Elon was a major asset in Trump's victory. Number two, Trump will leave in 4 years. And number three, Elon on their side provides being a major advantage. Then logic dictates that every other potential Republican candidate will be seeking Elon's goodwill. Some Democrats, too, will probably try to do the same. What do you think? This is Randy Kirk. That was basically all the news there was about Tesla in the last 24 hours that I thought was worthy. Please hit like, subscribe, notify, all that jazz. So thankful to you guys. We are very, very close to hitting the 25,000 level, and on X, just a few away from being at 7,500 followers. Things are popping very nicely right now for the channel, and I appreciate everybody who has been a long-time viewer. I'll appreciate you even more if you join Patreon or buy one of those bottle openers. All that information is down below. All right, this is from the 𝐒𝐦𝐚𝐲 letter, and he says that U.S. serious delinquencies on credit card charges are skyrocketing. The share of U.S. credit card debt that is delinquent plus 90 days jumped to 11.1% in Q3 2024. That is the highest level since 2011. And this is the fifth consecutive quarter of increases, the longest streak since the 2008 financial crisis. This share even exceeds the 2020 peak and has been rising at a pace only seen during recessions. At the same time, credit card debt hit $1.17 trillion, a new record. Now, I don't care about records with regard to the amount of outstanding debt. There are more people. It's a good economy. So that's not my issue. The issue is that a lot of it's becoming delinquent. He says there's also a whopping 130 billion of credit card debt that's on the verge of default. And his conclusion is that U.S. consumers are drowning in credit card debt. But here's where, again, 𝐒𝐦𝐚𝐲, I wish he would be a little more just a little better at analysis because Bank of America just came out the other day and said the opposite. They said that both, even the lower earning classes are not spending as much on credit cards, that all across the board credit card debt is leveling off. People are not getting into a dramatic amount of additional debt. And so, yes, I think that there's a problem with the lower income groups where they have gotten themselves in over their heads, and right now they're trying to get through this period, get back on their feet, and that's why you're seeing this happen. But I don't think it's an overall crisis. I think it's a pretty limited. Again, it's important. I'm glad you brought it out, or I wouldn't have brought it out. Okay. All right, let's go ahead. On Monday, what do we have coming up this week? We have got the Home Builder Confidence Index. Last month it was at 43. They think it's going to drop down to 42. Why would they think that? Well, they would think that because mortgages are, going not exactly, well, okay, going back up. They were almost down under 6%. Now they're back up in the 6.6, 6.7 range. So this would cause them to feel less confident. And going into the Trump economy, they're thinking maybe those interest rates won't come down. And I think there's reason for them to be correct about that. However, I think that people are going to get used to that 6.5%, which is a normal rate for housing. And I think, therefore, that people are going to want to go out and buy that house anyway. So we'll see what happens over time. But at least for this month, in the middle of winter, which is when the least likely time for people to be buying houses, the confidence level, when I say the middle of winter, the winter season, the winter time of year for that industry, it's very soft from about October 15th to about March 15th. So anyway, I wouldn't be surprised if it does come down even more. Could go down even more. Then on Monday we've got one of those Chicago Fed people, talking, Austin Goolsbee. He's kind of a dove. It'll be interesting to see what he says on Monday. On Tuesday, we have housing starts. Those had been 1.35 million, which is not a great number, dropping, they're thinking, this is what they're projecting, dropping to 1.34. Interesting, they have building permits reversing that, which were last month 1.43. They're thinking they'll go up a bit to 1.44. So planning out more into the spring, maybe they're thinking people will be, even though they're less optimistic, they're still going to add anyway. I don't know how these economists come up with these numbers. I would think that you would see more consistency across them. But there you go. Hey, looks like Austin Goolsbee is going to speak again on Tuesday, and that's all that happens on Tuesday. Then on Wednesday, we've got no reporting from anybody except what happens on Wednesday. Well, Wednesday would be Nvidia's profit or their earnings call and their earnings report. So it'll be interesting to see where Nvidia comes out. Expect Nvidia's, whatever happens to Nvidia will impact the entire market. Now, I saw a headline just before I started to do this where Nvidia might be having a little bit of trouble with their BlackRock. I think it's called not BlackRock. Anyway, their brand new chip. Maybe some of them are overheating or something. That's all I saw, just that headline. If it's true, then we could see some sell-off on Nvidia tomorrow based on that until there's some clarity. And it could continue to impact all the way through earnings. But other than that, I'm guessing that they would be showing a solid result again with solid expectations in the future. And so it should help the market in the week, unless this rumor turns out to be true or this headline turns out to be true. All right. Then we've got on Thursday initial jobless claims, which have been roughly, I would call it like 205 to 240, for 2 straight years, as long as I've been doing this, I think. They were 217 last week, projected to be 220 next week. I would call that a nothing burger if that's what it turns out to be. And I don't expect any craziness in that area either. Then we got the Philadelphia Fed manufacturing survey, which last month was up 10 point, which was at 10.3 last month, projected to be only at 6. So don't know why such a dramatic fall off in the expectations for the Philadelphia manufacturing survey. But when we get there on Thursday, I'll explain it. Then we've got Cleveland Fed President Beth Hammack speaking. Not very long, though, just opening remarks, apparently, someplace. Existing home sales on Thursday, those last month were at 3.84. Those are expected to go up, actually, to 3.91 on existing home sales. That would be for October. That would be, compared to last month on an annualized basis. Okay, so going up slightly. Yeah, maybe. I think a lot of houses would have gotten into contract while the mortgage rates were lower, and those then would be being completed, and those people would have grabbed onto those lower mortgage rates. All right. So then we also get fun on Thursday. We get the leading economic indicator index, which last month was down 0.5. This month, I think it'd be down 0.4. That's almost getting into non-recessionary territory. We'll see what they have to say on Thursday. Kansas City Fed President Jeff Schmidt speaks at that day, and Fed Vice Chair for supervision, Michael Barr, speaks also on Thursday. All right. Then on Friday, we get the S&P Flash Services PMI. That was 54.1 last month. No guess this month. Then the Flash U.S. Manufacturing PMI expected to go up just a little bit from 48.5 to 48.8. And then consumer sentiment comes in. Now, this is the third report. This is a quarterly report that gets three different revisions, and they're expecting this to revise upward to be better than it was in the last report from 73 to 73.5, just a slight increase. And then Fed Governor Michelle Bowman speaks also on Friday. Okay, we've got also, in addition to Nvidia earnings, we hear from a bunch of retailers, including Target, Ross, and Lowe's. Again, on the retailers, I'm not as interested in how they perform as I am in their guidance. What are they hearing from their consumers? What are they expecting for Christmas? What are they expecting for next year? If they give any guidance on that, that's what I'll be paying attention to and reporting on to the extent that I see some headlining on that. Okay, on a little, this is a slightly political note, but I think it's an important one given what we've just gone through. And this is an interesting headline. Trump is now calling for an investigation into the fake poll, as he would call it, by Ann Selzer. By Ann Selzer. She was the Iowa poll that showed Harris all of a sudden up by 3 percentage points in Iowa, a crazy number. Everybody went, what are you even talking about? It doesn't add up to any other polls, and believing that it was done completely, fraudulently. Yeah, fraudulently. Well, anyway, Ann has stepped down. She's no longer going to be doing polling anymore. She's going to go on to a new life of doing something else. And Trump claims the poll was totally fake and accused her of causing distrust. And this was a 16-point error. You wouldn't think that a pollster with any credibility could have a 16-point error. Anyway, she has, as I said, leaving election polling for new opportunities. Yeah, I guess I would too. I know that today is Football Sunday, but some of you probably missed a very good episode this morning where I made the case that Tesla might add $6 billion in profits in 2025 over the numbers that I've been showing you so far. And I'll put that card up in just a minute after we look at these numbers. So, of course, I'm very unhappy with the bond market. I continue to be very unhappy that the bonds are continuing to surge in terms of their interest rates. So we got the 10-year up 1.3 in the pre-market at 4.439. The 2-year is actually unchanged. And the 3-month is up also 1.5 basis points, and the 2-month is up 0.5. So those are staying, about 10 or so basis points away from the 10-year. But yeah, continuing up, crazy business. All right, where are we on? The oil was down. Yes, oil down just a bit. But we are, Brent is trying to go back under 70 again. It's at $70.94 with Texas Intermediate all the way down to 66.80, under 67. So this would tend to indicate If it breaks much lower, we are probably going to the 50s. We've got natural gas up 3.58%, going back up again over $2.90, $2.92. Gold just up a bit at $6, up at 2,576. Silver up 1.6%. I'm sorry, that's not correct. Up 0.16% at $30.48, but still well under the 34 and change that it was earlier I think at the beginning of last week, we were at 34. Copper is up 0.07, so not much movement there at just over $4. We have got the dollar down a bit against the yen, 0.3%, barely changing against the euro, 0.047 up, actually, the dollar. And then Bitcoin down another 815. It's sitting at 90,000 again. So, right there in that new range, I would call it from 87 to 94. We'll see how that progresses over the next few days. All right, what about the equities? Not much going on here except in the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ is up 98 or almost 0.5%. S&P is up 11 or 0.19%, and the Dow is up 9 or 0.02%. So in general, upward trend, but in particular the NASDAQ. And not sure why that would be unless the news is not out there yet or it was incorrect about Nvidia, because in general, I might expect Nvidia to help all boats float. Now, maybe this is because of what I was talking about at the beginning about Tesla getting this. Maybe Tesla is going to be up 20 points tomorrow. Anyway, we'll see. I don't want it to be up 20 points tomorrow. Tomorrow's probably when my cash is going to get in my account and I'll be able to make a buy. So could I have another day or two, please? I'll be rooting for it to go higher and higher on Wednesday. All right. Anyway, okay. That's all I got for you right now. Here's the card for this morning's program. I highly recommend you go back and look. There's, maybe after football, that might be a time. All right. Until tomorrow morning, when normal stuff, normal after the bell, normal Brian White, as far as I know, and then Larry Goldberg, who's traveling on his way to Texas to watch another launch of a Starship and hopefully another catch by 𝐒𝐻𝐦𝐚𝐲. That's what was going to see you tomorrow. It's been great talking to you.